Welcome to The Voiceover with your host, Dee Foster III, where we discuss relevant topics that affect the culture with bold, independent commentary. Get ready to be inspired, enlightened, and encouraged.
It's Friday. It's Friday somewhere, and welcome to the Voice Over There podcast. I'm your host, Dee Foster III, CEO and president of Wake Up Global Networks International. Listen, you know the spiel at the beginning. I want you to like, subscribe, share, and follow because we gonna get into some things. I want to say thank you for all that you're doing, all that you're sharing. I want to hear from you. The email address is thevoiceovertheglobe@gmail.com. Thevoiceovertheglobe@gmail.com. Go to our website to find out more about us. It's www.wakeupglobalnetworks.com, www.wakeupglobalnetworks.com to be a part of any or all of our events. I am excited. I want to say thank you for all of the birthday wishes. I want to say I appreciate you. It is a blessing to know that you are celebrated. And I want to say far and near, I heard from you, and I want to say thank you. A special thank you to WPP Media's owner and operator, April J, for all of her love, all of her support, all of her giving us this platform to have a voice. Have you joined? Before I'm waiting for some of you to come in, it's Friday, straight no chaser. Most of you are off tomorrow, so I'm gonna give you a few more minutes while I give you a few more announcements. Have you been to Sunday morning at 7 a.m. for the Voice of Hope Connection? That's right. You know, the week can be so tedious, so unpredictable. So here at 7 o'clock for the live drop, we give you a word, just a few minutes, inspirational to get you through the week. I want to share it with you. I want you to share it with others every Sunday. And if you can't get it live, you can be a part of the replay crew as you can right here on the Voice Over Now podcast. Thank you. I am so excited. Listen, we're entering into lesson 3 of power. Lessons in Power, part 3. Now, we're about to get into some things. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell. Listen, I need you to push this network up in the algorithms. With all the negativity that's going on the internet, we need conscious content like this. And every time you press the likes, it lets YouTube know that people want more content like this. It's an algorithm game. I keep telling you, it's an algorithm game. So press the likes, put this link in your contacts, share it with somebody. We've got some new followers. We want to say thank you. Share this. If you're being blessed, share it. Now you can give, and I want to say thank you for those of you who have sown seed. No seed is too small, no seed is too big to sow into Wake Up Global Networks and the works that we are doing in the community. The giving apparatus is on the screen, tax deductible. I want to say thank you. Now, you know I'm not long. I don't hold you long. I know people's attention span is short, especially on a Friday, especially if you're on your way home, especially if you're walking, especially if you're in the gym, especially if you're on the subway, especially if you're at the bar. I know you want to get into the game or whatever and get into your conversation. So I'm going to hit this and quit this. But this is Lessons in Power. And let me tell you my style. If you're listening for the very first time, I have a style where, yes, I entertain, yes, I bring you information, but because of who I am, there are going to be life lessons learned out of this podcast. That's the way I've designed it. That's the way God set it up. That, yes, I'm going to be bringing you the culture. Yes, I'm going to be bringing you political things, economic things, spiritual things. But at the end of the day, there are going to be lessons that we learn because that's just who I am and that's just what I've been assigned to do. So we've been talking about lessons in power. I won't go back. I promised you last time. I'm going to pick up right where we left off, talking about Drake at the center of a power failure. That's right, Drake at the center. Now, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, go back and watch parts 1 and parts 2 to get the backdrop. But I don't have time because there's much more to this story. And again, you say I'm dragging it out. I'm not dragging it out because I am tearing it apart. I'm teaching us how to operate in power. We are in a day and a time when most people are aborting their destiny. because they don't understand a dynamic that they've never had to participate in. And just because you never had to participate in it, and just because you don't like it, doesn't mean you're not drugged into the game just by being a mere human on the planet. If you are a mere human on the planet and you're in a relationship, or you're at a job, or you at a fraternity or sorority, and I'm gonna get into that because I'm still not going to denounce the divine nine, the unfortunate murder of that young man. And I'm going to talk about that because a lot of people say, do you change my mind? I do not change my mind. It was a murder. And I'll talk more about that. But anyway, did I tell you to like, to subscribe, to share so far? So everybody is in a power dynamic, and power can make you or power can break you. It depends on how you use the power. So we've been talking about lessons in power. Share this, part number 3. Drake is the object lesson. Things we can learn from Drake, what not to do. Because some people, you don't learn just what to do, you learn what not to do. And unfortunately, in this circumstances with Aubrey Graham, we know what not to do. Now, let me pick up where I left off. I told you that Drake was at the height, has been at the height of his career with Universal Music Group for the last, I would say, 5 to 6 years. Drake came in, he's Canadian, he came in and he shot from the top, almost like a couple of years ago. Up until maybe the last year, you could not turn on Spotify, you could not turn on Apple, you could not turn on any streaming mechanism and not hear a Drake song. One song would be somebody else, and the next song would be Drake, somebody else, and the next song would be Drake. Drake was on all of the covers. So Drake, highly publicized, Grammy Award winning. Drake, tennis shoe deal. Drake, all kinds of deals, right? So the point is that Drake was at the top of his game. But watch this. The subtitle of this is Power versus Influence. Power versus, a lot of people don't know the difference. There's a difference between power and influence. I do that on my podcast. I go into detail. See, a lot of people think that, like Drake, that they have power. And when you think you have power and don't understand the difference between power and influence, you can make some wrong power moves like Drake did against Universal Music Group. So Drake comes in with almost an unheard deal, $500 million deal up front, a 360 deal. I don't have the time to get into what a 360 deal, but basically he's owned by the label, but they give him this advance. As a matter of fact, I told you last time, the CEO and owner of Universal, Sir Lucian Grainge, made a comment that you can go, it's on the record. Whatever Drake wants, Drake gets. Now, this is one of the most powerful men in the music industry. As a matter of fact, I pulled up an article on yesterday of how powerful it is. Universal had their earnings call, I believe it was on Tuesday. And the title, watch this. This is what Drake was aligned with. But because Drake didn't understand power, he disassociated himself. Music business worldwide, Universal spent 1 billion. This is the organization Drake was aligned. 1 billion on investments in 2024, and five other things we learned on Universal Music Group's latest earning call. And I read this, and I'm gonna dissect some of this in the weeks in the podcast to come because I think it's very vital. So Drake wasn't with no rinky-dink label. Drake wasn't with no anybody. And I'm not saying this. Drake wasn't self-signed. Drake went to the top. There was a reason, because he had a power base, listen to this, behind him called Universal Music Group and its CEO, the most powerful man in the music industry, Sir Lucian Grainge. I said it last week. Drake had favor with Lucian. But see, sometimes when there are kingmakers, oh yeah, come on, like this, share this. Come, where you gonna hear this at? They should teach this in universities. They should teach this in churches. They should teach this in colleges because I'm teaching about life, but I'm using a cultural failure to help us understand what not to do. So Drake was made by kingmakers. Lucian is a kingmaker. See, the problem is, like this, share this, subscribe. Drake thought he had power. Drake thought, and see, here's a mistake. Let me help somebody. Here's a mistake. Sometimes when you become so propped up by the kingmaker, because the kingmaker, you have favor with the kingmaker. Now let's understand, the kingmaker was getting something from Drake because Drake was making the label billions and billions of dollars. Drake was a hot commodity. Drake was young. Drake was attractive. Drake could uh, uh, okay, Drake could sing. Okay, y'all want to say Drake was smooth with the ladies. I mean, Drake had the look, everything. So he was instrumental for Universal. So I'm gonna balance it out, right? I'm gonna balance it out. I'm not gonna make it all that Universal that Drake didn't bring anything to the table. Drake brought a lot of things to the table, but hear this. Universal was the kingmaker of Aubrey Graham. The kingmaker. What is a kingmaker? Most of the time, oh, y'all get this. Y'all get this. Y'all are so. If listen, if you get anything, you ought to bless Wake Up Global Networks. You ought to bless. Well, you're gonna hear this. That's what I'm saying. We're having fun, but we in a teaching moment or a teaching mode. When most kingmakers are not visible, most kingmakers are not loud. Most kingmakers are in the shadow. Until the P Diddy thing went off, we didn't hear a lot about Sir Lucian Grange, and that's only because Sir Lucian Grange, as I told you last week, was brought into a lawsuit by Rodney Jones, and Sir Lucian Grange's name was mentioned along with Universal in Rodney Jones's lawsuit. But of course, Lucian Grange and Rodney Jones, and Universal was dropped from the lawsuit. Wonder why? Wonder why the most powerful man in music with the most powerful lawyers probably on the planet was dropped from a lawsuit. Things that make you go, again, a lesson in power. Rodney Jones. But anyway, moving right ahead. So Drake wasn't aligned with a rinky dink label. Drake wasn't aligned with the anime. Matter of fact, Kanye, I told you last week, said that Lucian is like Drake's baby daddy. Anything Drake asked for, because Drake was valuable to the company. Lucian, I believe, genuinely had favor with, liked Drake. So Drake, anything Drake asked for, Lucian said, Drake get it. Drake asked for more money, Drake get it. Whatever Drake asked for, Drake get it. A lesson in power. Now, where does the power come from? Where was the money backing Drake? Who marketed Drake? See, Drake was very marketable. You couldn't look on Spotify's label without seeing cover, without seeing Drake. You couldn't listen to beats without hearing a Drake song. You couldn't even turn on R&B for a while without hearing a Drake song, 5 and 6 an hour. Come on, that's not incidental. I know that from having history working in radio. That's not incidental. That's purposeful marketing. But the problem is Drake got confused. Drake had a problem. Drake thought that he was powerful when Drake was simply influential. Now, there's a difference between being powerful and being influential. Drake was influential because the powerful propped Drake up, marketed Drake, put money behind Drake. Drake did not. I'm going somewhere. Like this, share this, subscribe. They're lessons in power. Part 3. That's what we're talking about. Drake did not fund his own career. Drake did not put the money up. Like I said, Drake got a deal that very few people ever get in life. He got a upfront almost $500 million deal, somewhere between $450,000 to $500,000. $500,000, $1 million deal. 450 million, dollar deal. So Drake was favored, right? Now, let's fast forward. Like this, share this, subscribe. Let's fast forward. So Drake goes into, and this goes all the way back, a battle in 217, I think it was, 217, with a kid that I want to talk about. And that's the center of this podcast. XXX Tentacion. XXX Tentacion has transitioned now. He was murdered, I believe it was in 218. But him and Drake cross paths. Now, here's where it gets good. I want you to like, I want you to subscribe. Here's where I get into the crux of the whole purpose of this podcast, Empower. Now remember, I frame the foundation of Drake's association with Sir Lucian Grange and Universal Music Group on purpose. I showed you how tight the company held Drake and how Drake had favor with Universal and its CEO, Sir Lucian Grange. That's going to be key in moving on, that you understand it. That's why I said, I don't rescue podcasts. I come on podcasts, intentional, purposeful, to make a point, not just for clicks and views. Yes, click, yes, view, but that there are lessons learned and that we can grow and be educated and inspired. So let's fast forward. Let's fast forward. So fast forward. In 217, XXX Tentacion was in prison. X had made a song, All Eyes on Me, or Look at Me, I think it was. Look at me. And XXX had a particular sound. So while the story goes, while X is in prison, had a troubled background, but he came out trying to make something of himself. And I think this time he was in prison for alleged spousal abuse. Drake here's XXX according to an interview with X before he transitioned. And Drake's ex-manager indicates that Drake wants to connect with X. But by this time, follow me, X is in prison. So X had made the song, right? Look at me. And the song was literally blowing up. The song was blowing up. So X, while in prison, gets calls that this dude Drake sounds a lot like you. This dude's Drake. Now I'm gonna get to Kendrick. Oh, this rabbit hole goes deep. This dude Drake sounds like you. So XXX listens to the Drake song and says, dude stole my sound. Now remember I said that Drake prior wanted to connect with X because he heard his song, right? Look at me, and was so impressed he wanted to do, according to X and others, a collab with XXX. But by that time, XXX was in jail. So fast forward, X hears the song. X is not happy. So X makes the statement, I disrespect Drake as an artist. I respect him as a man, but I disrespect him as an artist because he stole my lyrical sound and did not give me credit. Bang! Well, you know how Drake is. You know Drake can be a little petty. Drake fires back. Now, I'm going to pick this up next week right here. But this is where the first battle, the first war, the first beef between Drake and XXX Tentacion starts. When Drake fires back, and then X fires back and says something about sleeping with Drake's mother. What X? Off limits, cross the line, off, leave the mother, leave the children out. They don't have anything to do with it. And now Drake fires all barrels. And as it goes, it ends up being not only a rap beef, right? But it ends up being a real life beef. As a result, many believe, and I'm going to get into the details and where universal and where power comes. Follow me, right? X is murdered sometime, I think it's May 2018, after this long time beef with Drake. So they catch the murderers, and I'm going to go into detail next week. And at first, Drake's name is mentioned as a possible witness in the case because X had said at the heat of this beef, if he is murdered, Champagne Papi, which was Drake's online name, I think it was his Twitter name, did it. So the attorneys for one of the accused said, it's worth investigating Drake. Let's summons Drake, bring him in to testify. Just because simply his name comes up in the case. And one of the accusers indicates that Drake is indirectly involved. And guess what? First, that was permitted. The subpoena was served. The subpoena was never submitted to. Drake never came to court, right? This is you can check this out. I'm getting to power. And then the judge does a 360 and tells the attorney for one of the accused murder victims, I hope you follow me, you can summons all the people on your witness list except Aubrey Graham. Scratch his name off the list. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. That's unheard of. X said, if I'm murdered, I mean, we're not saying Drake did it, but I mean, any good attorney or judge would say, well, it's worth looking into. How all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute. Drake in 218 is still in good stand. Wait, it's power. Still in good standing with Sir Lucian and Universal Records. So I wonder if Universal, I'm not saying anything. Like, share, subscribe. I'm talking about power. Drake had not yet filed one of the dumbest lawsuits I ever heard of against his own record label. The same record label that could have had his name eliminated from the witness list in 218 and that in 224 because you're in a beef with Kendrick and you're losing. You're blaming your record label and you want a defamation lawsuit against a record label who has sat on all of your wait, this power thing, this Drake has a problem. Drake doesn't understand the dynamics of power. And wait, okay, I'm out of time. I'm out of time. I'm out of time. All right, we're gonna pick this up right here. I promise you. Next week, like, share, subscribe, follow. We gotta get into this because it's getting good now. I spent the first couple of weeks laying the foundation, but now we get into the meat where it gets good because Drake has a problem, and Drake is just beginning his problems because his name has come back up. Wonder how? In the XXXTentacion appeal of one of the murderers. I wonder if Universal, you want to sue? Oh, I'm not going to get into that. Like, share, subscribe, follow. Don't forget, listen, if you've been blessed, if you've been educated, I want to hear from you. The voice over the globe at gmail.com. Lessons in Power Part 4 next week. But Sunday, the Voice of Hope Connection, 7 a.m. You're going to be edified. You're going to be blessed. Don't forget, go to our website, www.wakeupglobalnetworks.com. www.wakeupglobalnetworks.com. Until next week, remember, you have a voice. Keep lifting it.
Thank you for being a part of The Voiceover. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms to stay connected to our upcoming shows and guests. Instagram at The Voiceover Radio. Twitter at DPropheticI. That's the letter D, prophetic, EYE. If this show has enriched you in any way, please share The Voiceover among your circle. Until next time, keep allowing your voice to be heard.